When we think about building a strong, resilient town, it is easy to picture heavy machinery, giant utility grids, or developers bringing in outside money. But real resilience usually starts much smaller. It begins with the simple knowledge shared over a fence between neighbors. We can see this taking shape right now in rural communities across Baja California Sur. Towns like Agua Amarga, Punta Arenas, and Ensenada de Muertos are approaching their growth in a deeply grounded, localized way. These places are facing immense pressure. Massive, rapid real estate and tourism developments are moving closer. If these towns do not act, they risk losing their finite water supply, their traditional access to the sea, and the identity that makes them unique. To counter this, residents are stepping into the role of guardians. A guardian takes personal responsibility for the town's survival by directly teaching the next generation how to live off the land responsibly, ensuring local knowledge outlives external pressures. To protect their homes, these neighbors are gathering a shared set of practical steps, a way to build the town's future by hand, from its culture to its very soil. This protection starts with how they handle their heritage. In these towns, culture is a daily practice, something that is lived and reinforced through action. Elders teach the youth to celebrate their environment through mariachi programs, folkloric dance, and collaborative projects. This direct person-to-person instruction builds a deep sense of local pride. That pride directly influences how people earn a living. We are seeing a major shift in the workforce. Older residents who spent 30 years in extractive industries, like heavy shark fishing, are now using their deep, hard-earned knowledge of the sea to train local youth as sustainable eco-tour guides. When a town treats its history as a training program, the local workforce shifts. Instead of pulling resources out of the region, they become the people who fiercely protect them. The next step requires us to rethink our physical utilities. The ultimate test of good infrastructure is whether it allows a town to survive independently, without relying on a fragile, centralized power grid. 300 years ago, mission builders achieved this independence using local materials. They built with a porous volcanic rock called tezontle to keep buildings cool, and they laid out stone canals to move fresh water using nothing but gravity. Today, these towns are returning to that exact same philosophy of self-reliance, but they are applying it to small-scale, modern technology. Instead of stone canals, they are installing local wastewater recycling systems. And instead of hoping the distant regional grid survives a summer brownout, they are turning to decentralized solar panels to generate their own power right where it is used. Whether you are looking at an 18th century stone aqueduct or a 21st century solar array, the engineering goal is identical. You keep the town running independently, using the resources available right in your own backyard. To manage waste, families follow a simple rule. Keep everything in a continuous loop so nothing is ever truly thrown away. Look at this continuous cycle. When a family refuses single-use plastics or composts food scraps, they stop garbage from overwhelming the town's disposal system. The same logic applies to water. Residents keep the loop closed by fixing leaks and stacking rock dams to catch rainwater. Solving massive municipal waste and water crises does not always require giant treatment facilities. You can manage those huge problems simply by standardizing these quiet, everyday habits at the family level. Using that compost and rainwater in a community garden heals the desert soil while creating reliable local jobs. This process starts by burying logs deep underground for water storage. Next, charcoal and compost create a permanent home for nutrients. Finally, seeds are planted. Rainwater is stored in the buried wood, feeding the roots to produce a shared community harvest. Teaching families these specific steps transforms barren dirt into a sponge. That sponge secures the town's food supply and creates fresh produce to sell in the local economy. At this point, you might be asking a very practical question. How does a small rural town actually afford to transition to this protective, sustainable economy? There is a common myth that it takes billions of dollars to make a difference. In reality, targeted, small initial grants give local agricultural workers, like independent beekeepers or farmers, the specific, precise boost they need to improve their yields. For larger technology, like solar panels or drip irrigation, these towns use a shared guarantee to reduce risk for lenders. For every dollar the community puts up, The bank provides 5 more, allowing local small businesses to scale up. This strategic, small-scale financial backing acts as a powerful multiplier. It allows residents to turn their daily work into permanent, community-owned assets. True, lasting community growth cannot be imported in a shipping container, and it cannot be imposed by an outside developer. When neighbors share the right skills, you get places like Agua Amarga, communities fully capable of thriving on their own terms and protecting their own resources. Blending the ancestral wisdom of the past with the decentralized tools of tomorrow and teaching it person to person is the reliable way to build a community that lasts.